State ascoltando il podcast E.I.T.H.R con E.I.T.H.R.
So, let's start with the E.I.T.H.R.
And happy Friday to everybody. It's your boy D-Cal here, host of the E.I.T.H.R podcast. Today is July 1st, 2019 plus 3, because we still ain't got past all this COVID shit. Now we got monkeypox and everything else, and gas prices starting to drop, and it's been a wild ride. Anyway, I want to welcome you to the episode number 19 of the podcast. You guys can go ahead and check us out on social media. On Instagram and Twitter, it's the same handle. It's at the E.I.T.H.R, at E.I.T.H.R. I wanted to let you guys know, hitting you guys up from the GNS HQ here in Sacramento, California, where it's actually not too hot this weekend. It's going to probably be somewhere in the high 80s, low 90s. So we should be comfortable this weekend, especially since it's summertime. I wanted to take this time right quick to give a shout out to all the new followers and subscribers, everybody to the E.I.T.H.R podcast. I've been trying to do my thing and spreading the word, and a lot of people that I know have been sharing posts and episodes and content and things of that nature. So I want to say thank you for your growing support and your continuous support of the GNS Inc. Brand, as I would call it. So, shout out to Project Optimism. I've been knowing this dude for many years. We go back to the nightclub scene where I was doing security, and he was doing promoting for the nightclub here in Sacramento. So I want to give a shout out to Mr. Armani Easley himself and his company. It's called Project Optimism. You guys can check out the website, projectoptimism.org. There's a location here in the Sacramento area, and there's also one in Los Angeles. Naturally, he's here in the Sacramento, so you guys can follow him on social media, which is Project Optimism SAC on Instagram. And like I said, if you want to follow the Los Angeles chapter as well, it's Project Optimism LA. But I just want to go ahead and give them a shout out right quick, because they're doing a lot of big things with the youth in the communities of Northern California and as well as Southern California. And they're not just limited to those two locations. They're doing it big all the way across to help the youth out. And I think it's kind of a good concept. Youth helping youth. You know, it's the generation helping the generation after him and his partners over there. So I want to go ahead and make sure I pay some respect. I can't believe I haven't really mentioned them too much. It's a lot of stuff going on, but I wanted to give them their credit for what it is they're accomplishing. And again, shout out to my friend Tammy Ortega, the lonely Chargers fan in all of California. But she's doing a business called Cincy, and I talked to some people who actually try some of the product themselves, and I'm going to take a look at the website and see what she got on there. But she just, an at-home mom taking care of her little superhero down in the LA market. So you guys go ahead and check out her website. It's Tammy Ortega, TamiOrtega.Cincy.us. Go ahead and support an up-and-coming, mompreneur, a motherpreneur. So, in today's economy, any little bit you can help to support somebody. 4th of July weekend, There's a lot of kids right now for summer break. There's some kids got maybe like one more week of school before they go on summer break. So right now is the time I want to give a shout out to all the teachers out there across the country, teaching the youth the best way they can with both of their hands tied pretty much with the curriculum, doing the best they can with what little resources that they are receiving. You guys are doing a lot, and I don't really think that these communities really appreciate teachers the way we need to appreciate teachers. Every student thinks they know more than the teacher until you become a teacher yourself and you realize, oh shit, they actually knew what they were talking about or knew what they were doing. So I wanted to make sure that I gave you guys some kudos to that on that. So much respect to a teacher, man. You guys are doing something that I don't think I would ever have the patience and doing just because of my attitude and the way my persona is. I would definitely try, but man, big ups to you guys from elementary to junior high school, college, just you are appreciated. Most definitely, guys are appreciated. Anyone who listens to the E.I.T.H.R podcast, that I like to start up the whole thing, not just giving, shout out to everybody that I know or a couple people that I know. I like to start up the podcast with some encouraging things to kind of help you get through your day. Like I said, it's 4th of July weekend, so this podcast is going to be really shorter than normal, probably half the time. I know some of you guys are probably like, oh man, your wisdom is so authentic and refreshing, and we don't want it to end. Well, if that's the case, then you can go ahead to the YouTube page, which is just search for the GNS Inc., and you can see the E.I.T.H.R podcast right there. If you haven't subscribed to iHeartRadio or to Spotify or Podcasters or Google or Spreaker or anybody like where you get your podcast, you can subscribe to there, like I said, or you can check the YouTube page for that. Supporting cast. Now, there's been a few episodes that I have mentioned this. Because sometimes, no matter what it is you got going on in your life, you sometimes feel like you're alone. Even if you're in a room with people or standing and sitting right next to somebody, you still can feel like you're by yourself, especially when you're kind of trapped in your own head with whatever it is you got going on. It's extremely important for you guys to maintain a support group or some type of supporting cast that will keep everything as positive as possible. Now, I'm not talking about yes men, yes women, but at least people who will continue to remind you of how much you've accomplished, how much you've achieved. People who will constantly send your ear, accountability partner, if you will. To have one or two accountability partners always would do the trick, because sometimes you just need somebody else to give you that quick pick me up. Right? They don't have to necessarily be in the same business or the same lane as you, but they at least have to be heading in the same direction. And a lot of us have too many people we associate with that have common paths. Really what you want to do is associate yourself with people who have a common future. So make sure that the people around you are encouraging, uplifting, but they're also realistic. They don't have to be, like I said, yes men. You don't want anyone who's too pessimistic, but you want someone who's a optimistic realist, if you will. They're going to give you the real. They're going to tell you exactly what's going on, but they're also going to come at it from an optimistic perspective that at least keeps you going forward and helps keep you encouraged with whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. Remember, words are energy, ladies and gentlemen. Words are energy. So the body and the mind doesn't really know the difference between sarcastic and authentic. It just takes what you say and it transmits that. So even if you were to say something and you're just being tongue in cheek, it will resonate to the body how that is being, it's your meaning is transferred. So you always want to say something encouraging and positive about yourself. In addition, is it still crazy to have a conversation by yourself? Let's say you're sitting in the car and you just need to have yourself a pep talk, right? I do this on a regular basis. I will sit in my car or I will roll the windows up and I will have a full-on fledged inspirational meeting with myself about whatever it is that I need to be attending to. And if I feel myself is getting off track with that, I just kind of have an out-of-body experience, if you will, and have a conversation with my astral projection of myself. And just be like, look, man, you got to get back on track. Whatever just happened, don't worry about that. Remember what the goal was for today. Remember what the goal is for this week. Remember what we're trying to get to at the end of the month. And sometimes if you just have that one-on-one conversation with yourself, it's almost as good as having a supporting cast around you. And sometimes by hearing yourself say these things out loud can make a big difference in how you see things and how you carry on the rest of your day. So I just want to go ahead and share that. Those are a couple of things that help me motivate my attitude and motivate, how I see life. Because if anyone who knows anything about me intimately, you kind of know a little bit about my past and you can see where I came from. Still a long way to go, but at the same time, I'm not where I was a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago. Shit, I'm not where I was yesterday. So everything's moving in the right direction. So I just want to make sure that I share that with you guys, because no matter how bad you think it is, the tomorrow is what you're working for. Simple as that. Like I told you, the GNS headquarters is here in Sacramento, California, originally from the Bay Area. And a couple of people have been asking me, it's like, why did you move back to Sacramento to start your business when there's so many startups and so many things going on in the Bay Area? The God honest truth to that is I feel the Sacramento market could legitimately rival that of the Bay Area. I believe the Sacramento market could even possibly stand up there with LA, San Diego. Now, there's probably some people here in the Sacramento market that's probably laughing at that. They probably looked at their phones or their radios like, what the fuck you talking about? Or, someone who's outside is like, I don't know the difference between the two. But the Sacramento market is pretty much like a valley. It's a workers' hub. There's a lot of people who they go to work and they come home. Very few have an outside the box mindset. But as the old cliche goes, sometimes monkey see, monkey do. And so I wanted to bring my brand of business and my way of thinking back to this market, because geographically, you're right in between the Bay Area, Reno, Nevada, South Lake Tahoe, California. Ideally, you are beautifully located between 3 destination areas, and you can capitalize on that. So I kind of want to show people, listen, if you think outside the box, this is a whole ass market you could just conquer and devour if you do it right. I feel the Bay Area has a different mindset when it comes to hustle and thinking outside the box. Very similar to Los Angeles, probably very similar to Houston and New York and Miami. And being that technically, if you're kind of just going off of county lines, the Bay Area is about 45 minutes away from here, because it's Solano County. Most of the traditional part of the Bay Area that people always go to is close to an hour away, but it's so busy and congested. And like I said, the mindset is just, it's hustle, it's grind, it's think outside the box, it's be creative, it's be original. Sacramento has that potential. I think a lot of people just need to get out of their own way and break old habits that they have to make that happen. So if you have a business idea that you want to do, Sacramento's a very untapped market. You just got to work a little bit harder for people to understand it, and you got to be a little bit different to keep people consistent with it. But the beauty about it is you're always thinking, and you're always going to come up with something new, and you always have to be on your toes and stay ahead of the curve. I remember in Sacramento when the nightclubs were a thing, man, it was crazy. Old Sac used to be what Midtown currently is. That's what Old Sac used to be. So anything that's west of the Golden One Center, that was where you wanted to be in downtown Sacramento. And I just remember from like 4th Street on in, it just, nothing else really mattered in that town. But again, that's the reason why I came back to Sacramento, was because I just honestly felt that there's so much positive damage you can do in the city. Especially if you're in the city, you have a leg up over people who come from outside the city. And if you can get in now before this whole wave kicks in again, especially for real estate, you're going to get a part of that money, and maybe you can reestablish some businesses that didn't establish themselves properly the first time, and go ahead and leave yourself a legacy. So that's kind of the reason why I came back to Sacramento, because I honestly, truly, really believe that, this market could definitely go ahead and make something happen. So that's pretty much it. 3 topics I want to touch on. I might just stop at 2, but I kind of want this to be more of a silly podcast, so than the typical serious ones like I've had on Monday and the previous Friday. Anyone who hasn't heard, but this is kind of not new, not brand new, but it's kind of new, is NeuraLink. Tesla has been, Elon Musk has been dabbling a little bit with NeuraLink, and basically what that is think of having like a SIM card. It's like a microchip that they surgically implant in your brainstem. But think of it as a SIM card to your phone that surgically gets placed in your brain, and all communication ultimately will be done telepathically. That's just crazy, right? I mean, imagine walking, sitting, standing, and you have a thought, and someone looks at you, and you can just Bluetooth that shit right over to them. And they can see exactly what it was that you're thinking. And they can Bluetooth a reply or a response right back to you. Everything is done telepathically. That's what they're doing. They tested it out on a monkey who, what they did was they had the monkey play a game of Pong. If anyone who was born before 1989, you kind of know what the game Pong was. And so they had the monkey play the game of Pong. And then for X amount of time, I can't remember how much time it was after the fact, they unplugged the controller and had the monkey play the game again. Now, again, the controller is unplugged, so it's no longer in the console. But the monkey was controlling the Pong, or I forgot what you call the thing when you play the game, but the board, if you will, to relay the ball back to the computer with his mind. So the monkey thinking that the controller's plugged in, but he was actually using his brain to move the cursor to hit the ball back to the computer, which was serving it back to him, right? And as a treat, they would give the monkey, I think it was like a banana or something, but he had the controller and a banana in one hand, because every time he did it correctly, they gave him the banana as a treat. I want you to imagine being someplace and you can download music into this chip, and while you're working, while you're having a conversation, while you're sitting and watching television, you can legitimately hear music playing in your mind while you are actively functioning outside in the real world. It's almost unbelievable, but there have been so many instances where in film we've seen things like this happen, right? Where you've seen telepaths in movies move things with their mind. Well, now we're going to get to the point where you can have a microchip in your brain, and robots are starting to do more things anyway. So you can literally look at something and key in an order. You can literally type something, text something with your brain and send it. Just what a thought. Now, there also the purpose of it was to restore nerve endings in your body that no longer are responding. So people like paraplegics, quadriplegics, they're able to walk and move around again. It was like to repair those nerves, to get those things functioning. For people who at one point in their life lost their vision, lost their hearing, never had vision, never had hearing, you're now able to repair those nerves, repair those parts of the body, of the brain, of the spine, and restore them to where these people get these gifts back, or get these gifts for the first time ever. And I remember watching a video of a baby who was born deaf, and the expression on this baby's face when it was able to hear its mother's voice for the first time. And it was, obviously it's very scary, but like after 45 seconds, the baby was able to put together, okay, I recognize this woman. This is where the sound is coming from. And you see the baby starts to break down and cry, because not only is it a scary feeling, but it's hearing something brand new. So emotion took over. And of course the mom cried, because she's overwhelmed with joy that her baby can finally hear. And same thing with a child who was blind and needed glasses. And they put these glasses on the child, and the child was able to see, for the first time without any type of blurring or disruption or any type of blockage or anything. And just to be able to imagine what it's like to, just close your eyes, man. Close your eyes for like 5 minutes and then move around and try to touch and try to reach and try to walk and try to not bump into something or fall or trip. And then open your eyes one day and that's what you see for the first time after 10, 15, 20 years. So this is what this NeuraLink is. That's what the goal is. Everything I said in the beginning is also where they're working towards. The music, the communication. The iffy part is hackers are always going to be ahead of the game. Hackers are always going to be ahead of the game. So can you imagine somebody hacking in your brain and you're playing 90s R&B or 90s hip hop music, and the next thing you know, somebody puts in Dave Matthews Band, hella random, right? Imagine you at the gym and you got on, Disturbed or Rage Against the Machine or Shine Down or someone like that, right? You got Metallica playing, you going off to some Korn or some Slipknot, or, you just, next thing you know, someone hacks your chip and here comes Backstreet Boys, My Way. And you can't do shit about it. How annoying would that be? Right? And you running around like a madman because you got Bye 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 on repeat. And you can't find your iPod to turn it off. You can't find your phone to disconnect it because it's surgically within your brain and the access to it is at the computer that's in your house and you were at the gym. Imagine that. That's crazy, right? Like I said, if you see somebody that you're attracted to and you want to send them a private message privately, and ladies, you see somebody, you're like, oh wow, and you want to send them a, hey, I was wondering if you come over here and sit down and talk to me, right? And you can send them that telepathically. Imagine someone hacking your brain and getting your chip and saying all kinds of cool stuff people say on the internet. And he's going to receive that message from you. And your face is going to be like, stuck. So, that's just wild. But that's kind of, because, anything we make that's worth having people ruin it, right? People ruin anything that was meant to be positive for the masses of people because somebody wants to be the cool person to do that. And I just think that would just be so foul. Now, it's not ready for the public just yet, but I remember hearing about it and reading about it, so on and so forth. And they're also thinking about for babies. Because when babies cry, they don't know how to communicate. So imagine being able to have this chip surgically implanted to the baby that there's these code that like a legend where this type of crying means this type of crying means that, this type of fussing means hungry, this type of fussing means diaper change. I understand the premise of it, but can you imagine them putting this in your child? Like you give them consent to put this in your child. Someone even made a good point. Like, what if they put chips in your dog so when your dog barks, you actually understand what it is your dog is talking about? That's how far we come, like in the last 50 years, which is way more faster than the previous 150, 200 years. Give me a quick second for this promo right quick, and I'll be right back.
Yo, what up, folks? This is Rodney Farrell, the CEO of Farrell Development Group, and you're listening to the E.I.T.H.R podcast, hosted by E.I.T.H.R. Let's get it.
Had to get a shout out to my boy, Mr. Rodney Farrell, over there with the Farrell Development Group. But like I said, with imagine having a chip put into your dog, and you and your dog is literally having a conversation. Like, I don't know how far that is or how close that is, but that, ladies and gentlemen, that is legitimately something that they have on the table. That's where we're at right now. That's kind of where they're working. Personally, for me, I think it's an awesome step. I think it's an awesome idea. I really think it's a beautiful thing. That's kind of where the world's getting at right now. Personally, for me, I wouldn't do it. I'm too old school for that. I'd rather talk with my mouth and my voice so you understand the tone, because it's almost to the point where it's no different than a text message where your tonality of what you're saying will make or break the deal, right? And your facial expressions, there's some people out there who I know, their facial expressions are louder than their words. But it can be a big fluster cuck if this thing goes sideways. And like I said, and people can hack into it and just do all kinds of weird stuff. And, the medical aspect from it, it's just wild. And to think eventually this may become the normal. This might be how the world is moving forward in the next 20 years or so, right? And I know we're getting to the whole, I'm not going to touch on it except for just a name, but I know people kind of feel a certain type of way to this day still about the Roe versus Wade topic, and about rights and what you can and what you can't do. Is this something that is going to allow you to have consent? Is this something to where they're going to say this is something that we're moving forward in? I don't think in my lifetime or in yours, we're going to have to worry about that. I think it's going to be one of those permission-based things where, here's an option. Do you want to do this or not? But eventually, for national security purposes, I do believe that eventually it's going to become a mandate. But I hope it doesn't. I hope it stays as an option. But then you might get into a social situation where, hey, somebody has a chip and they try to talk to you and you're not responding, and you use your mouth like, I'm sorry, can I help you? And it's kind of like, oh God, he's a talker. Oh, he talks. Oh God, get away from me. You're a talker. You're one of those. Because you might get people in certain class or tax bracket who has the funds to do something like this. Now that's hella scary, right? If you kind of want to use your imagination, that's hella scary. Where, the wealthy or the ultra rich can have something like this to be done, and they can just communicate with thoughts and set up. Man, let me tell you something. I don't think the world's ready for that. But unfortunately, world, here we are. So it's NeuraLink. If you hit me up on the Twitter at the E.I.T.H.R, E.I.T.H.R. If you scroll down, you'll see the link right there on my post for NeuraLink, and you can kind of read into it yourself. I mean, it's mad interesting, but super crazy at the same time. I more power to whoever's doing it. I just, like I said, it's not for me. But who knows? Who knows? Maybe by the time I'm about to kick the bucket, they worked out 95% of the bugs. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm about to go anyway in a week. So let me go ahead and get the surgery done and just say all kinds of inappropriate shit to everybody I went to school with. And they can't say nothing back because, I got on a foil beanie. And, their thoughts can get through or whatever. But that's what that is, a NeuraLink. Other news. This is kind of crazy. There was a story here in Sacramento, where a gentleman was at home with his wife, and my man went to go into the bedroom to get some hangers. So he was getting some hangers from his wife's closet. Now, apparently they had two separate closets, one for him, one for her. And they're like walk-in closets, so there's plenty of space. So my man went into her closet, looked for some hangers, and he noticed there was a chest, kind of tucked off into the side. He was like, this is interesting. So, he was just curious, like, is this something that I should know about? Should I be aware? Should I not be aware? One of the local radio stations had this thing on, like, if you have a problem, hit up at the radio station. So that, he sent in a letter, and they were like, yo, man, any follow-up, anything that's going on with this story, if it's something that happens, the aftermath or whatever, reach out, let us know what's going on. But there shouldn't be any issue with you approaching your wife about this. It's your wife. You guys live in the same house. It's probably just some paperwork. It's probably just something, minor something, nothing big whatsoever. He followed back with what was happening, and he approached her about it, and he says the first thing she did was she got defensive. Personally, for me, that was a red flag. Listen, if I asked my wife, hey babe, I was hangers in the closet, but what's that chest in your closet? What's in there? You're not accusing anything. It's just a simple question. What's that in your closet? So she got defensive, but he said it kind of made me feel weird because I'm like, I wasn't accusing you. Just, what is it? I've never seen it before. And then it turned into anger. The defensiveness turned into anger. And then the anger turned into sorrow and embarrassment. And so he's telling a story. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, like, okay, it's probably some stuff where ex-dude's clothes or, love letters from something in the past that she holds dear to her because, maybe, that partner passed away or something, or just something sentimental to her. That's what I'm thinking, right? Listen to the story. No, it was none of that. It was none of that. What had happened was she wound up confessing. She pulled out a box, and this box says a gentleman's name. And he was kind of like, okay, so we're naming boxes. This is weird, right? And opens the box, and it was an adult toy. So it's like, okay, this is kind of weird. We're naming adult play toys. Okay, like that's random. But it wasn't your traditional everyday play toy that she had in this box. And as she starts to tell the story, I almost swerved my car. Because it was a molding of an ex-boyfriend that she dated 7 years ago. My man had this molding done for her because he would travel. And so when he was gone, he wanted her to have something to remember him by, to let her know he was still with her. So everybody was quiet listening to the story. And I'm sitting there like, what? So yeah, she has a molding of dude. And everyone's kind of like, the fuck? Like, how long have they been separated? He says they broke up 7 years ago and we've been married for 3. So when my man's at work, his wife, most likely, is using this molding of an ex and thinking about him. Hell, she can be done with her husband and finishes with the molding of her ex. Fellas, what would you do if you doing laundry one day, and you put your wife's undergarments away and you come across something and your face is, why she have this in a drawer, right? Or why is this here? Now you're not snooping because you don't know it even exists to snoop. But you stumble across it and you confront her. And she tells you it's a molding of my ex-boyfriend's penis. And you're like, wait, so-and-so? Yeah. Didn't y'all break up like 2 years before we met? Yeah. Why do you still have it? Well, fellas, what do you do? What do you do in that situation? Are you cool with that? Because the husband, apparently he was like, I would be okay with it had she told me. But she hid it from me. So what else is she hiding from me that I am unaware of? Fellas, what would you do? What would you say? How would you react to that? Ladies, if your man had a 3D print of his ex-girlfriend before you, and you're putting away stuff, you're making the bed, and it's under a mattress, or it's under the box spring, or it's somewhere you weren't snooping, but you stumbled across it. What is this? Right? Kind of like that one scene from 40-Year-Old Virgin. What's he supposed to do? It's a vagina. Like, what do you do with it? It's for medicinal purposes. Like, no, you don't. No. Ladies, what would you do if your man had a 3D print out? A live print out? What would you do if you found out that your man in the shed had a doll replica of his ex? And it was covered behind the snowboard, the camping gear. I mean, it was brilliantly tucked off in the back of the shed. What would you do if you happened to see this? Where would your mind go? I can't understand. This is another reason why relationships are so damn hard today, because everyone has so many damn secrets, bro. Like, what? That's I don't. What would I don't know how to react to that. Like, are you upset? Do you find that shit funny? Would you just walk out and leave? Could you make that relationship work after that? Could you mend that? Could you fix that? Could you repair that? Men, could you repair that? Ladies, could you repair that? Is that something you can sit back and say, no, we can get past this. We can get over this. Could you? For me, if I stumbled across it, because you got to now understand, yo, if she's playing with this thing while she's with you, bruh, obviously something is not happening when you are there. Ladies, if you find out that he has a doll replica of his ex in the shed, how do you come back from that? Can you sit back and say, you know what? I was upset, but now I'm fine. Do you got to get tit for tat? Do you got to get even? What do you do? Like, how do you, listen, I don't know. But thank God that's not my problem. Thank God I don't have that problem. And by the grace of God, I would never run into that problem. Because I don't know how I would react to that. But it definitely would not be cute. It would not be a cute situation for neither one of us at that point in time. Because you just can't make any sense of that. I don't care what anybody say. So, that's that. Listen, 4th of July weekend. There's a lot of idiots out there driving around. There's a lot of idiots out there walking around. There's a lot of idiots out there outside. I need y'all to be careful. I need you to be cautious. I saw an accident earlier today. I was about 100 feet away from it. It appeared that a car was speeding, trying to make a light, and it didn't happen. And all I know is the car looked like it got T-boned. It ran into a tree, and its rear went up 45 degrees. It kind of did like a pirouette real quick, and it slammed back on the ground. I want to say it was off of some street in South Sac. I remember hearing the sound, seeing the smoke, seeing the car, seeing the tree, seeing another car, all in my side view mirror. Like I said, about 100 feet. People, wherever the hell you are trying to get to, it will still be there. And there's so many of us who think that nothing's going to happen to us. Nothing's ever going to happen. We're safe. I'm cool. Listen, it's always at that split moment where you say, oh shit. It's when you realize you should not have sped up and tried to split those two cars in that merging lane, right? You are 25 feet behind the intersection and the light is already red. And you think accelerating because everybody's going to wait for you to run a red light so they can wait at their green. You need to think, because it's not just your life you YOLOing, but there's somebody else's life that does want to live. So don't cheat them out of seeing tomorrow because you want to be a badass today. Just don't do it. It's 4th of July weekend. This weekend I can't decide on Saturdays or Sundays. I'm gonna start doing Genius Entertainment, which is the entertainment section of the company where we kind of play music like you hear in the background right now. So I might start doing things where it's just instrumentals. So if you guys, clean the house, just doing whatever the case is, I'm trying to set a time and a day to where I play these instrumentals that I create, and you guys can have some other further music to entertain yourselves to the podcast. Listen, I will chat with you guys next week. Please be safe. Enjoy your weekend, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between. Holla back. Y'all be good.
Put your hands up. Hello, my name is Candice Romero, and it has been my absolute privilege and honor to be teaching people about doTERRA's essential oils for the last 9 years and helping people live their most vibrant life. If you'd like to learn more about my natural solutions, please feel free to contact me on Facebook at Bay Area Terra Tribe Essential Oils and Natural Solutions, or check out my website, my.doterra.com/Romero. That's my.doterra.com/ROMERO. Thank you.
I ain't scared of you motherfuckers.